بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم. Welcome our dear brothers and sisters in Islam. أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم بإذن الله تعالى. This is our third حلقة, our third episode بإذن الله تعالى, going through the book The Beginning of Guidance of Imam Ghazali rahimahullah, Bidayatul Hidayah, walhamdulillah. Ya Abdullah, Ya Amatallah, we have reached up to page number 69, inshallah. Jade, page number 69. So we've covered a lot, mashallah, in our previous two halaqat. Jade, in our previous halaqah, we saw that Imam Ghazali discussed the matter of now, after Salatul Fajr, what you do for the rest of the day. He discussed the matter of at night and going to sleep, what your intention should be, what you should do before falling off to sleep, etc. He also discussed in the morning when it came to four types of people. So he says that one of them, they are going out and they are seeking knowledge, mashallah, Jaid. And he gave advices with regards to such a person. He spoke about the second person who is involved in ibadah. That's his day. His day is involved in ibadah, mashallah. Third category of individuals, those who are working out there and they are trying to do good for the people, alhamdulillah. And the fourth one, the one who is going out and he's earning his livelihood, etc., etc., right? And he gave advices with regards to those matters. If you remember, he mentions like the person who he can't really be busy with doing any sort of good, nor can he stay away from the haram. Imam Ghazali said rather this person should go and sleep. Sleeping is better for this person, right? Sleeping is better for him. Allah musta'an. We saw also those heavy words of Imam Ghazali that the person who naps during the day and he does not wake up for the Hajj salah is like somebody who wakes up for suhoor, he eats a lot at the time of suhoor, and then he does not fast. Allah musta'an, Jayyid, Allah musta'an. Jayyid. And he also talked about how much of sleep you should get in a 24-hour cycle. He said you should not be sleeping more than 8 hours, right? Maximum of 8 hours. So with that, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we continue from that point. Imam Ghazali now begins with the adab of salah. So he spoke about ghusl, he spoke about wudu, he spoke about tayammum, he spoke about seeking knowledge and the intention behind that matter. He spoke about the people when they go out in the day. He discussed when you go to sleep at night. He spoke about the wazaif before Salatul Fajr, then you in the masjid, and then you pray your Salatul. He went through the entire day, mashallah. Okay? Now he goes into more details with regards to Salah. And after this, he will talk about the imama and being the imam. He will also talk about the adab of Jumu'ah, and then he will move on to the adab of Siyam. Once he finishes with Siyam, khalas. This 1/3 of the book is then complete, right? Then he moves on to the second section, and that is staying away from sin. So yalla bismillah, page number 69. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ مِنْ طَهَارَةِ الْحَدَثِ. When you have finished purifying yourself and purifying your body, clothes and surrounding of any impurities, remember tahara of your body, tahara of your clothing, and tahara of the place where you are to be praying, right? There's three levels of tahara. Min al-khabath, tahara min al-khabath, tahara min al-hadath is your wudu or your ghusl or your tayammum. And then purity from material types of filth, your body must be clean. Number 2, your clothing must be clean. Number 3, the place where you are praying also is supposed to be clean. And after you have covered your nakedness from your navel to your knee, that's the minimum that must be covered when you are in salah and outside of your salah, right? He states that face towards the Qibla, standing with your feet apart, not touching each other, stand up straight and recite قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, seeking protection with it from shaitan the accursed. Make your heart present and empty yourself of other thoughts. Consider before whom you are standing and upon whom you are calling. You should be ashamed to enter into intimate discourse with your master Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a heart that is heedless and a breast, a chest which is full of thoughts of this world and the dross of one's lowly desires, right? Imam Ghazali جيد فإذا فرغت من طهارة الحدث وطهارة الخبث في البدن والثياب والمكان ومن ستر العورة من السرة إلى الركبة فاستقبل القبلة قائما مراوحا means that you are standing comfortably. You are standing comfortably in salah, right? You find, for example, like the Hanafi scholars state that there should be 4 finger space between your 2 feet. 4 finger space between your 2 feet, right? That's what the Hanafi scholars have stated. Whereas Imam Ghazali and others are stating murawihan. Murawihan means as you normally stand. As you normally stand comfortably bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, right? And as you comfortably stand, and also taking note that that you shouldn't go beyond the area of your shoulder blades, right? So your feet must not be spread wide that it goes beyond this point here. If you're standing in Jama'ah, for example, and you find like a brother, he's praying like this, that's incorrect, right? Your haq, brother, does not go beyond your shoulder blades, right? So you stand normally as you normally stand, inshallah, murawihan. Then he mentions that بين قدميك بحيث لا تضمهما. You don't have your feet together. واستوي قائما, and you should stand up nice and straight. وقرأ قل أعوذ برب الناس. جيد. تحصنا من الشيطان الرجيم وحضر قلبك وفرغه من الوسواس وانظر بين يدي من تقوم. Beware of who you are standing before when you are in this salah, etc. Right? If Imam Ghazali means that you recite قل أعوذ برب الناس before beginning your salah, then we know that this is not something from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? واعلم أنه عز وجل مطلع على سريرتك وناظر إلى قلبك وإنما يتقبل الله صلاتك بقدر خشوعك وتواضعك وخضوعك وتضرعك. فاعبده في صلاتك كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك فإن لم يحضر قلبك فهذا لقصور معرفتك بجلال الله تعالى. فقدر أن رجلا صالحا من وجوه أهل بيتك ينظر إليك ليعلم كيف صلاتك فعند ذلك يحضر قلبك وتسكن جوارحك. Imam Ghazali states that when you are standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, stand in a manner that take note that Allah is watching you, Jayyid, as though you are standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And maybe if it requires you thinking, maybe one of your family members, a friend, your father-in-law is watching you, Jayyid, how you would stand with khushu' and you would lower yourself, etc. in humility. Now imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking at you, Jayyid. Know that Allah the Most High is observing your inner self and beholding your heart. Truly Allah the Almighty accepts your prayer based only on the degree of your khushu, based on the degree of your khushu, your humility, your surrender, and your submissiveness. Right? Worship Him as in your prayer as though you see Him, or knowing that even though you do not see Allah, He sees you. If your heart does not come to presence, and this is due to a shortcoming in your understanding of the magnificence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? That you haven't given Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the taqdeer that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deserves. Therefore, imagine that maybe a pious person amongst your respectful people of your community is watching you to see how you pray. Wouldn't your heart be present and your limbs be peaceful and not be scratching and moving and shaking, etc., etc.? ثم رجع إلى نفسك, and then return, ask yourself, جيد, قل ألا تستحي من خالقك ومولاك. Do you not are you not like shy? Are you not ashamed, embarrassed in front of your creator and your master? When you imagine being observed by one of the people of your community, there suddenly you have all of this humility, but and this person has no means of benefiting you, no means of harming you. Your limbs become submissive when he is watching you and your prayer is improved, yet you know that Allah is observing you and you do not humble yourself before His Majesty. Is Allah the Most High lower than one of Allah's slaves? How great is your tyranny? How severe your ignorance? How greatly you wronged yourself. Subhanallah. He says that فَمَا أَشَدُّ غِيَانَكَ وَجَهْلَكَ وَمَا أَعْظَمَ عَدَاوَتَكَ لِنَفْسِكَ. How great your tyranny, how great your ignorance, and how greatly you are wronging yourself. Right? And there's a story that Layla Majnoon. So there was this guy, he loved this woman by the name of Layla, and he was Majnoon for her. Right? He was infatuated with her. And the story goes that one day he was chasing after a dog in the street. And so he chased this dog and he's going up. Why? Because it's Layla's dog. Yeah, he got the smell of Layla's dog, and now he's chasing the dog in the street, trying to find out where Layla is, following the dog, because it reminds him of the one that he loves. And so he passed by some people and they were in Salah. And when he eventually returned, they asked him, why didn't you join us for Salah? So he said, what do you mean? I didn't see you guys. Where were you? He said, we were right here. We were making Salah in Jama'ah. Why didn't you join us? He said, I didn't notice you guys. He said, what do you mean you didn't notice us? So he says to them, I was focused on the dog. This dog here is the dog of Layla. I was focused on the dog. I was concentrating on the dog, and I was following the dog. And had you people really loved Allah, and you were concentrating on Allah, and you were focused in your salah, you wouldn't have seen me as I didn't see you people. I was focused on the dog. Out of my love for Layla, I was following the dog and concentrating on the dog. And so I didn't see you people. But you people are liars. You're not really focused in your salah. You're looking around and you're checking me and this and that, etc. Allah musta'an, Allah musta'an. Right? They say sometimes, even from the majnoon, there are words of wisdom and words of hikmah that come out. He says that فَعَالِجْ قَلْبَكْ بِهَذِهِ الْحِيَلِ فَعَسَاهُ أَنْ يَحْضُرَ معك في صلاتك فإنه ليس لك من صلاتك إلا ما عقلت منها. And so maybe use this type of remedy. Imagine that you're standing in front of your friend or your uncle or grandfather, so you will have more khushu. So try these types of hiyal, these type of like remedies to remedy yourself in your prayer, in the hope that it will present with you, it will allow for your heart to be present in your prayer. For verily nothing of your prayer counts except that which you are mindful for. If your mind is not there, if your heart is not there, then what's the point, right? As for the part that you performed with heedlessness, it is more in need of tawbah and expiation. The salah that you perform without concentration, your mind is not there, your heart is not there. He is saying that that part of the salah or that type of salah, it is فَهُوَ إِلَى الْإِسْتِغْفَارِ وَالتَّكْفِيرِ أَحْوَجِ. It is in need of tawbah, and it is in need of like a kafara to sort itself out. فَإِذَا حَضَرَ قَلْبُكَ فَلَا تَتْرُكْ الْإِقَامَةِ وَإِن كُنْتَ وَحْدَكَ. And then if your heart is وَأَمَّا, and then if your heart is present, don't forget to deliver the iqamah. Before you start your prayer, give the iqamah. Even if you are praying on your own, he says, that give the iqamah before you begin your prayer. وَإِنِ انتظرت حضور جماعة فأذن ثم أقم. And if you're waiting for like some other people to join you, etc., then give the adhan and then wait for them, inshallah, and then you can give the iqamah after that. فإذا أقمت فانوي بقلبك أداء فرض الظهر لله تعالى. And once you are making the iqamah, etc., have the intention that you are performing Zuhr Salah. So he discussed Fajr Salah, now he's discussing the Zuhr Salah, right? This intention should be present in your heart as you make the opening takbir, and should not leave your heart before you finish the takbir. Bottom line, you need to have the intention in your heart, right? Do you need to verbalize anything on your tongue? The answer is no. You need to just have it in your heart. You know exactly what you are performing, inshallah. Once you have made the call to commence from the intention in your heart of performing the obligatory rak'ahs of Dhuhr for Allah the Most High, this intention should be present in your heart as you make the opening takbir, etc. After letting your hands hang loose by your side, raise them to your shoulders while saying the takbir with your palms open and the fingers spread out, right? So not like this, right, but the fingers spread out. Do not burden yourself with trying to keep the fingers together or separate. Don't burden yourself. Don't make extra takalluf. Don't try to do this or don't try to do that. No, just normal. You have your hands up like that, just normal, right? Do not burden yourself with trying to keep the fingers together or separating them. Raise them such that your thumb is on level with your earlobe. So your thumb is on the level of your earlobe. Try it. That's one opinion. Your fingertips with the top part of your ears and your palms parallel with your shoulders. Try it. So like this. Once they have settled in this position, say takbir and then lower your hands gently. In raising your hands or lowering them, do not push them forward or backward or shake them from side to side, right? So you wouldn't do, something like this, right? No, what's that, right? What's that? Or for example, you find some people doing this here, right? No, no, for example, like some would, kickstart it, right? There's no need for all of that. Once you have let your hands go, raise them towards your chest. Right? Honor the right hand by placing it on the left. Spread out the fingers. So he's stating here. Once you have let your hands go, raise them towards your chest. Right? Honor the right hand by placing it over the left. Spread out the fingers of your right hand along the length of your left forearm and hold onto your left hand at the wrist. Right? So depending on your madhab, etc., etc. So for example, the Hanafis have their hands below the navel. So here Imam Ghazali, the Shafi'is, etc., hands slightly raised above that. Right? So that area above the navel up to the area of your chest, etc. You can tie your hands there. Imam Ghazali mentioned here the matter of the chest. Once you have let the hands go, raise them towards your chest. Honor the right hand by placing it over the left. Right hand over the left. Spread the fingers of your right hand along the length of your left forearm. Hold onto your left hand at the wrist. So for example, like this. Try it. After the takbir, say, Allah is the most great. Praise be to Allah in abundance and glory be to Allah morning and evening. Allahu Akbar kabira, walhamdulillahi kathira, wa subhanallahi bukrata wa asila. This is one of the adhkar that one can recite after saying the takbir. ثم قرأ وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض حنيفا وما أنا من المشركين إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت وأنا أول المسلمين. I have turned my face to the one who created the heavens and the earth in submission as a pure muwahid, and I am not one of those who associate with Allah. Indeed, my prayer, my worship, my life, my death are for Allah, the Most High, Lord of the worlds, who has no partner. Thus I have been commanded, and I am one of those who submit. ثم قل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed shaitan. Then recite the Fatiha with all its double shaddas. جيد. ثم اقرأ الفاتحة بتشديداتها. There's four shaddas in the Fatiha. Remember the Shafi'i school of jurisprudence that there's no salah without Surah Al-Fatiha. You must recite Surah Al-Fatiha, right? And so if you leave out one shadda, technically you've not completed Surah Al-Fatiha. Others state, well, if the Imam is reading aloud, you do not have to recite. Right? If the Imam is reading, then aloud, then you listen to him, inshallah. But the Shafi'i say no, whether the Imam is reading or not reading, you must recite Surah Al-Fatiha. وَاجْتَهِدْ فِي الْفَرْقِ بَيْنَ الضَّادِ وَالظَّا. Make sure that you're able to distinguish between the ضاد and the ظا. وَقُلْ آمين. After the Surah Al-Fatiha, Ameen means, oh Allah, accept. وَلَا تَصِلْهُ بِقَوْلِكَ وَلَا الضَّالِينَ وَصْلًا. And don't join your وَلَا الضَّالِينَ with the Ameen together. Let there be a small break there, right? Why do we say Ameen after Surah Al-Fatiha? Because towards the end of Surah Al-Fatiha, we are making dua. Right? That's why today people even say, brother, you make the Fatiha. What do you mean? I must recite Surah Al-Fatiha? No, what he means is you must make dua. واجهر بالقراءة في الصبح والمغرب والعشاء أعني في الركعتين الأوليين إلا أن تكون مأموما وجهر بالتأمين. And recite aloud in Fajr, Maghrib and Isha, the first two rak'ahs, and except if you are the follower, جيد. إلا أن تكون مأموما, except if you are following the Imam. واجهر بالتأمين, and you should say the Amin aloud. واقرأ في الصبح بعد الفاتحة من السور الطوال المفصل. in فجر الصلاة, after Surah Al-Fatiha, you should try to recite the longer Mufassal surahs. The longer Mufassal surahs are from, Mufassal is basically from Surah Qaf or Surah Hujurat to Surah An-Nas. That's Mufassal. And then you have the long Mufassal and the short Mufassal. The short Mufassal is from Surah Wadduha to An-Nas, usually in Surah Al-Maghrib. So the longer Mufassal is from Hujurat to Surah Al-Buruj. And in Maghrib, from the shorter Mufassal, from he mentions here إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها to An-Nas. And in Zuhr, Asr and Isha, from the medium Mufassal, Surah Al-Tariq to Al-Bayyinah, such as Al-Buruj and those of similar length. In the Fajr Salah, when traveling, recite قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ and Surah Ikhlas. If you're traveling, you can shorten it down to those two short surahs. Do not join the end of the surah with the takbir of the bowing. Rather, pause between them for as long as it takes to say Subhanallah. So after you recited قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِقُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ Allahu Akbar. Pause at the end of your surah before making the takbir of the ruku. The whole time you are standing, keep your head lowered and your gaze at the place where you are going to make sajda. For this provides for greater concentration and encourages more the attentiveness of your heart. You are cautioned not to glance towards the right and towards the left. Then he states, then say the takbir for bowing. Raise your hands as prescribed earlier, the matter of raf'ul yadayn. So for example, the Shafi'i state, Imam al-Bukhari has a book on the topic that before your ruku, after your ruku, etc., you lift up your hands. This is called raf'ul yadayn. Rafa'a means to raise, yadayn are your two hands. Raf'ul yadayn, raising the two hands. And prolong the takbir until you reach the bowing posture. Put your hands on your knees with your hands spread out. Keep your knees straight. Your back, head, and neck should be level in one line, and your elbows should be kept apart from your sides. A woman does not do this. The woman, she doesn't like spread herself out in the prayer, but keeps her limbs closer together. And then say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. If you're praying alone and you would like to do more Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, say it 7 times or 10 times, more the merrier, for it is virtuous to do so. Then return to the upright position, raising your hands and saying, Sami Allahu liman hamida. When you are completely upright, say, Rabbana lakal hamd, mil as-samawati wa mil al-ardi wa mil ma shi'ta min shay'in ba'd. Oh our Lord, oh our Lord, to you is praise, filling the heavens and the earth and filling whatever you will thereafter. If you're praying by yourself in the Fajr Salah, then recite the supplication, the dua of Qunut. So you find the Shafi'is, this is practice with them in Salat al-Fajr, that they stand up and they make the Qunut in the Fajr Salah, the dua, they lift up their hand, they would say, make this dua, Then he will discuss the matter of lifting up the hands. Some say lift up the hands, some say don't lift up the hands. Then recite the supplication in the second rak'ah when standing up from the ruku. Then go down into prostration, saying the takbir without raising your hands. First, put your knees on the ground, followed by your hands. Then your forehead, which should be uncovered, The forehead should touch the ground, You find amongst the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, etc. Some of them, like they would have the turban here, and they would make sajda. And others would say, no, I prefer to push it up and make my forehead touch the ground, The nose should touch the ground along with the forehead, and you should keep your elbows away from your sides and your stomach, separate from your limbs. A woman, she shouldn't do this. She should try to be more compact. Place your hands on the ground level with your shoulders, but do not lay your forearms, The forearm, this should not be on the ground, And say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la 3, 7, or 10 times if you are by yourself. Then why is it saying if you are by yourself? Because if you are the Imam, then you need to worry about the people who are praying behind you. You cannot prolong too long, Then rise from the prostration while saying the takbir until you are sitting upright. Sit on your left leg and foot and keep your right foot erect. Put your hand on your thighs with your fingers spread out and say Oh Lord, forgive me. Allahumma ajurni. Rabbi, the dua he gives, Rabbi ighfirli, warhamni, warzuqni, wahdini, wajburni, wa'afini, wa'fu anni. Oh Lord, forgive me and have mercy on me, provide for me and guide me and heal me and grant me well-being and pardon me. And then prostrate a second time in the same manner. In every rak'ah in which there is no tashahhud, sit up straight for a moment to rest. This is what we call jalsatul istikhara, jalsatul istiraha. Jalsatul istiraha. You will find that some people, just before they stand up, they take like a small seated rest, right? So this is what the Shafi'is practice upon. It's called jalsatul istiraha. Istiraha means to like rest. So they like just sit before they get up, right? Then stand, placing your hands on the ground, but not putting one of your legs before the other while rising. Meaning that when you are standing up, you stand up, right, in one go. You don't like you don't lose your balance and put one foot forward, etc. Right? The sitting should be brief, as if it were snatched. Then perform the second rak'ah as you did the first and repeat the ta'awudh at the beginning of it. The Shafi'is, that at the beginning of every rak'ah, you say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Right? At every rak'ah. Others say no, you say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem in your first rak'ah. And then the qira'ah and the recitation in all the other rak'ahs suffice with that one a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, because they looked at the entire salah as like one, and so one a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem will suffice. Others said no, each unit, each rak'ah is like on its own, so each one will require an a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Jayyid. Then sit in the second rak'ah for the first tashahhud and put your right hand on your right thigh with the fingers closed, except for the index finger and the thumb, right, which are left spread out. Point with your right forefinger when you say illallah, right? So illallah, you point when you say illallah. We know, for example, the Hanafis, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. The Hanafis lower it with illallah, whereas the Shafi'is raise it with illallah, right? Not when you say there is no God. Place your left hand with the fingers extended on your left thigh. Sit on your left leg in the sitting, just as between the two prostrations. In the final tashahhud, sit on your left haunch with your left foot going out from under you and keep your right foot erect, right? Complete the transmitted well-known supplication after sending salawat upon the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he states, وضع اليد اليسرى منشورة الأصابع على الفخذ الأيسر واجلس على رجلك اليسرى في هذا التشهد كما بين السجدتين وفي التشهد الأخير متوركا. The final tashahhud, you sit in the mutawarrik position. Mutawarrik position is like when you put your right foot under your left, right? Very similar to how you find like many of the sisters sitting, right? So in the last tashahhud, you sit in this tawarruk position. And it also gives an idea to somebody who comes into the masjid late and he sees the people in the tashahhud posture. He knows by the posture whether they are in the fourth rak'ah or whether they're in the second rak'ah. So in the second rak'ah, they sit normally that your right foot is like erect like that, and your what's this? The left leg is right. No, your what's this? Your right foot is erect and you are sitting on your left. This is how you would be like in the second rak'ah, right? And in the fourth one, your left leg would be going underneath the right, and this is what we call tawarruk. So when somebody sees that, he knows this is the fourth rak'ah. But if he sees the first one like this, he knows this is the second rak'ah, right? وتستكمل الدعاء المعروف المأثور بعد الصلاة على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, and then you make dua after sending salawat upon the Rasulullah, after sending salawat upon the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم. واجلس فيه على وركك الأيسر واضجع رجلك اليسرى خارجة من تحتك وانصب القدم اليمنى. ثم قل بعد الفراغ, after salah you say السلام عليكم, when you're finishing the salah, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله مرتين من الجانبين, to the right and to the left. والتفت بحيث يرى خديك من بجانبك. Turn your head fully so that the next person, if you had to look, he can see your face properly. وانوي السلام على من بجانبك من الملائكة والمسلمين. Make the intention that you are making salam to all the people on your right hand side of the Muslims and of the malaika, and the same on the left. وهذه هيئة صلاة المنفرد. This is the manner of performing salah on your own. وعماد الصلاة, and the pillars جيد of the prayer are khushu, having this khushu. وحضور القلب, and your heart being present. مع القراءة وذكر بالفهم, with recitation and the dhikr بالفهم, with understanding. Right? So Imam Ghazali is stating that you should know exactly what you are praying. You should know what you are saying. Right? Imagine, subhanAllah, 60, 70 years old, the man still doesn't know anything what he's saying in his salah. Allah musta'an. Jayid. Allah says in the noble Quran, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى حتى تعلموا ما تقولون. That don't come for salah when you are drunk. Come when you are sober, when you know what you are saying. Jayid. In the early years of Islam, a person, if he was drunk, Jayid, you can drink during the day, mashallah. Subhanallah, alcohol consumption was only made haram in Medina, not in Mecca. Jayid. But then, subhanallah, Allah had mentioned that there's good in it, but the bad outweighs the good. Then later on the verses, when it's time for salah, don't come drunk. When it's time for salah, don't come drunk. The rest of the time you can be drunk, no problem. Right? So why don't be drunk at the time of salah? Because you don't know what you are saying. Now imagine, maybe a sahabi at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, he might be drunk, but he's told, no, it's not good enough. You must not make salah now because you don't know what you're saying. But if he's drunk, he probably might understand of Surah Al-Fatiha. I would say maybe 50%, 60%, 70%. He's not whacked out on the floor. He's drunk, Jayid. He's tipsy. He might understand maybe 70, 80%, Jayid. But subhanAllah, we are sober, we are not drunk, and we recite Surah Al-Fatiha in our salah, and many of us understand only 2%, only 3%. We begin our salah, Allahu Akbar, we finish Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We went through the entire prayer and we understood less than a companion during the time of the Prophet ﷺ might have understood if he was drunk. And he was told, don't come for salah because you're drunk, it's not good enough, you need to understand proper. We are not drunk, we are sober, but we are understanding less than them, subhanAllah. Allahumma musta'an, Allahumma musta'an. So he mentions that the pillars of the prayer are humility, presence of heart, together with the recitation of the noble Quran, remembrance of Allah and comprehension. Hassan al-Basri, Allah have mercy upon him, he would say, كل صلاة لا يحضر فيها القلب فهي إلى العقوبة أسرع. Allahumma musta'an. Every prayer in which the heart is not present is more likely to receive punishment than reward. Prophet ﷺ stated, verily, the slave of Allah performs the prayer and not even a sixth or a tenth of it is recorded for him. Verily, only as much as the slave's prayer as he is conscious of it is recorded for him. But whatever you are conscious of in your salah, that's the amount that you will get in your scales, inshallah. Adab al-imama wal-qudwa, the etiquette of leading and following in the prayer. ينبغي للإمام أن يخفف الصلاة, that the Imam should make the prayer brief. Now obviously their understanding of brief and our understanding of brief is very different, right? Prophet ﷺ said, I do not pray behind anyone whose prayer was more brief and complete than the Prophet ﷺ. The Imam should not make the opening takbir if the mu'adhin has not yet finished the call, the iqamah. I mean, you give Allahu Akbar and the iqamah is still going. No, before the lines are straightened. Wait for the lines to be straightened. The Imam should raise his voice with every takbir, but the follower should only raise his voice so that he can hear himself. The follower, right, if he's doing any recitation or anything like this, just to the level that he can hear himself. That's what Imam Ghazali states. Others say no, as long as your lips move and your tongue moves. You don't have to hear yourself. Even if you're praying on your own, you don't have to hear yourself. You don't have to do this. Alhamdulillah. That's good, fantastic, but you don't have to do that. The minimum would be that your lips move, right? But as for this, this is your thinking salah. You're not making any salah. There's no qira'ah. There's no recitation. And many people out there, they perform salah like that. This is just thinking the salah, right? No, that's unacceptable. Unacceptable. There's no salah, right? Allah musta'an. And so he states that the follower should only raise his voice so that he can hear himself. The Imam should make the intention of leading the prayer in order to attain the merit of doing so. The Imam should have the intention that he is the Imam, etc. Right? If he does not form this intention, then as long as the followers have made their intention to be followers, their prayer is correct and they will attain the merit of the following. Right? So the Imam should make the intention that he is the Imam in his heart, right? So he gets the reward, the people are praying behind him. Let's say the Imam, he led, I mean, how is he really in a masjid in front of everyone and he's the Imam and he makes the intention that he's not the Imam for the people following? The difficult, right? The Imam should say the opening supplication and the ta'awudh silently, like the one who is praying alone. So, Allahu Akbar after takbir, then Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika wa tabaraka ismuka, then dua, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, must be silent. He should recite the Fatiha and the Surah aloud in both the rak'ahs of Fajr. And then he must recite Surah Al-Fatiha, etc. aloud. And Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is part of Surah Al-Fatiha according to the Shafi'is. So you will find the Imam will say, you would say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Right? He should recite the Fatiha and the Surah aloud in the both rak'ahs of Fajr, the two of Maghrib and the two of Isha. The individual praying alone does the same. The Imam should say Ameen aloud in the audible prayers, as should the followers. The followers should also say Ameen aloud. The followers should say his Ameen at the same time the Imam says his Ameen and not afterwards. You must try to make your Ameen coincide with the Imam's Ameen. There's a hadith that if this happens, then the angels, they make dua for you, bi'iznillahi ta'ala. The Imam may pause for a moment of silence after Surah Al-Fatiha to catch his breath. And also the Shafi'i state to give the people time to recite their Surah Al-Fatiha. During this pause in the audible prayers, the followers should recite Surah Al-Fatiha silently to themselves as to enable himself to listen when the Imam is reciting. So the Shafi'i state, when the Imam is reciting aloud, you must listen. But when the Imam finishes his Surah Al-Fatiha, etc., they must give a pause, and so then the people, they recite their Surah Al-Fatiha, right? The followers should not recite any surah other than the Fatiha in the audible prayer, except if he cannot hear the voice of the Imam. Maybe you're in a masjid and it's very big and maybe the mic system cuts off or something of the sort. There you can't hear the Imam, then you recite, right? But otherwise you only recite Surah Al-Fatiha behind the Imam, even if you can hear the Imam. This is according to the Shafi'is, right? The Imam should not say more than 3 tasbeehs while bowing and while prostrating, because we don't want to over prolong matters. Nor should he add anything more in the first tashahhud after the words, "Oh my Lord, bless Muhammad and the family of Muhammad." He should read only the Fatiha in the last 2 rak'ahs. He should not lengthen the prayer for the followers. He should not lengthen his supplication in the last tashahhud beyond the combined length of the tashahhud itself and the sending of salawat upon the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Bottom line, don't prolong the matter, right? And you burden the people. There's a famous hadith that Mu'adh radiallahu ta'ala, he would pray with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then he would go to his people and he would lead them in Salatul Isha. So while he's doing that, one of the people praying behind him, after some time, this guy left the salah. He broke off the intention of following Mu'adh, and he completed the salah on his own, and then he left the jama'ah. He left the masjid, right? Later on, Mu'adh catches up with this guy and takes this guy to the Prophet ﷺ and complains to the Prophet ﷺ about this guy and says that, "Ya Rasulullah, this guy is like a munafiq." And so the Prophet ﷺ hears the matter, and then he says to Mu'adh, "Afattanun ant, you are causing a fitna, O Mu'adh?" How's Mu'adh causing a fitna? Mu'adh was prolonging the prayer, Jay. Too long, subhanAllah, Jay. This man, he says, "I got places to go, I got things to do, etc., etc., Jay." So I couldn't manage. There's a famous story of this brother comes into the masjid and Salatul Fajr, and subhanAllah, the Imam is reciting Suratul Baqarah. And subhanAllah, this guy is like, wow, but he followed the Imam and completed Surah Al-Baqarah. Allahu Musta'an. And so the next day he came back to the masjid, and then he heard the Imam reciting, Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. He says, when I heard the word fil, elephant, he said, I broke my intention. I'm not following the Imam any longer. Finished my salah on my own, and I left the masjid. So they asked him why. He said, because yesterday the guy recited Surah Baqarah, cow, and it was like almost an hour. Imagine today he's reading the Surah of the elephant. I mean, how long this will take, subhanAllah, Jayed? Allah Musta'an, Allah Musta'an. Something else comes to mind, Shaykh. Jayed, there's a story, they say that this individual, he was caught, some people in the masjid, they were caught, arrested for hitting the Imam. They were caught and arrested for hitting the Imam. And so they were taken to the Caliph and the Qadi. And so when they discussing this case, etc., they asked, you know, why? So the Imam says, I do these people, they beat me up and hit me and all of this here, Jayed. And so the Caliph asks the people, you know, why did you guys do this? So then the one guy spoke and he says that, mashallah, our Imam, he started Salatul Fajr at about 5:30, and he decided to recite Surah Al-Baqarah. MashaAllah, the Qadi is like, wow, subhanAllah, MashaAllah, what a wali of Allah, MashaAllah. Excellent. And the Salah lasted almost an hour. SubhanAllah, you guys are like, MashaAllah, Jayed. So why did you guys hit him? Because of the long length of the prayer? He says, no, not because of that. Because after Salah, the Imam said, O Jamaat al-Muslimin, something I have to tell you, that I think I broke my wudu, so please repeat your prayers. So please repeat your prayers. So that's why we hit the Imam. He pulled us for 1 hour reciting Surah Al-Baqarah, and that too, now he tells us to repeat the Salah. Allah understand, right? Allah understand. So ala kulli hal, Imam Ghazali is stating that don't overburden the people. Jay, don't be like as the Prophet ﷺ said to Mu'adh, afattanun and you are causing a fitna, O Mu'adh. Side note, the man entered the masjid and urinated in the masjid, and the Prophet ﷺ was lenient with him and was easy with him. And here Mu'adh is reciting long in prayer, lengthening the salah, and the Prophet ﷺ is saying, Mu'adh, you are causing a fitna. Why the double standards? Some might say double standards. The answer is no double standards. Mu'adh was somebody with knowledge. Mu'adh will be the leader of the ulama on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So Mu'adh is a person of knowledge. Prophet ﷺ dealt with him in that manner because he was a person of knowledge. Whereas the one who urinated in the masjid was a jahil, was an ignorant person, and so the Prophet ﷺ dealt with him differently. For example, on the Imam development program and stuff like this here, we might at times deal with Imams maybe very sternly, maybe very harshly. Why this manner? With other people, ordinary laymen, etc., is different. Yes, because you are a person of knowledge. You should know better. You should know better. Look at this Prophet ﷺ, how he dealt with Mu'adh and how he dealt with the Jahil who urinated in the masjid. Urinating in the masjid is 1,000,000 times worse than reciting Surah Al-Baqarah or something in the masjid. Subhanallah. But one was alim and one was jahil. Then Imam Ghazali states that when making the closing salutation, the Imam should intend sending peace upon the congregation, while the followers should intend by their salutation the returning of his greeting of peace. ولا يزيد دعاءه التشهد وينوي الإمام عند تسليم السلام على القوم وينوي القوم بتسليمهم جوابه. So the Imam says Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and the people, when you are making the salam in the salah, you must have part and parcel of your intention that you are responding to the Imam's salam. ويثب الإمام ساعة يفرغ من السلام ويقبل على الناس بوجهه ولا يثب إن كان خلفه النساء لينصرفن أولا ولا يقوم أحد من القوم حتى يقوم الإمام ولا ينصرف الإمام حيث شاء عن يمينه أو شماله واليمين أحب إليه. He states immediately after the salam, the Imam should turn around and face the followers. After salam, Imam should turn around and face the followers. But he shouldn't do so if they are women in the Jama'ah. Also indicates that, no barrier, etc. That that what Imam Ghazali is talking about, that there's no barrier, because if there was a barrier between the Imam and the men and the women, and then there's no issue in the Imam turning around, because it's not. But he's saying that if there's women there, then you should wait for them to leave, then you should turn around. None of the congregants should rise until the Imam rises. You shouldn't stand up and leave before the Imam leaves, right? The Imam can turn to leave from his right or from his left as he wishes, but I consider the right to be preferable. The Imam should not specify himself in the dua. So the Imam in the qunut, in the salah, or in dua, etc. He must not specify just himself. Right? So for example, in Fajr Salah, according to the Shafi'i, so they are making qunut, and so the Imam is making, oh Allah forgive me, oh Allah have mercy upon me, oh Allah grant me this, grant me that. Everybody is making Amin. No, you should make dua for the Jama'ah. Rabbana atina fi dunya, etc., etc. Right? Include the congregation in the dua. Rather, he should say, oh Allah guide us. He should say it aloud, and the congregation should say Ameen. What's he talking about? Is he talking about a dua after salah? No, he's talking about the qunut that you would have made in your salah, in your fajr salah, etc. Right? As he says, that the Imam should not specify himself in the supplication of qunut in the fajr prayer. Rather, he should say, oh Allah guide us. He should say it aloud, and the congregation should say Ameen. They should not raise their hands, as doing so is not established in the narrations. So Imam Ghazali states that you don't lift up your hands in the Fajr Salah Dua because it's not found in the narrations. And that's important to note. There is debate on this matter, but Imam Ghazali, look at what he's saying here. He's saying because it's not mentioned in the ahadith, etc., that in the qunut you don't raise your hand, so you shouldn't. We don't have information, so you shouldn't. Right? The followers should recite the rest of the qunut from the point at which it is said, verily you decree and none decrees over you. ويقرأ المأموم بقية القنوت من قوله فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك ولا يقف المأموم وحده بل يدخل الصف أو يجر إلى نفسه غيره. The followers should never stand alone in a saf. You shouldn't be standing alone at the back of a saf. You should have other people standing with you, or Ghazali states maybe pull somebody back so he can join you and pray. Because of the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah does not accept the salah of the person who stands alone in the saf. This is also like to avoid people thinking and making I don't want to stand with the people, I'm above the people. He's full of pride and arrogance. He doesn't want to stand with the people. These people, they work and they're smelling, etc. I'll stand on my own, away from the people. I'll stand on. It's not right. Now we're not talking about now regulations in terms of corona and all of these matters. We're talking about under normal circumstances. But rather should join a line or pull somebody to stand next to him if no space is found. It is not right for a follower to precede the Imam in his movements. You don't go before the Imam, or to move simultaneously with the Imam. Rather, you should go after the Imam. So he should not move to bow until the Imam has reached the full position of bowing, and he should not move to prostrate until the Imam's forehead has touched the ground. You should do your actions after the Imam. Imam Ghazali then moves on to Adab al-Jumu'ah, the Adab of Jumu'ah. Know that the Friday is a day of celebration for the believers. It is an honored day that Allah the Most High has chosen for this ummah. It is, in it is an unknown period of time during which no Muslim servant asks Allah the Most High for something except that Allah will answer this dua. So prepare for it on Thursday by cleaning your clothes and glorifying Allah much and seeking His forgiveness on Thursday evening. For it is a time that equals the special moment of Friday in merit. Make intention to fast on Friday with Saturday. You can't just fast Friday alone. Or fast Thursday and Friday, because there is a prohibition against fasting Friday alone. When Fajr comes, take a ghusl, for the bath on the Friday is an obligation upon every adult. That is an established and emphasized practice. Then dress up nicely with white clothes, white clothes, white clothes. But that is the clothing that Allah the Most High likes best. Hadith in Tirmidhi. Use the best smelling perfume you have, and be very thorough in cleansing your body by shaving, cutting your hair, trimming your nails, brushing your teeth, carrying out all kinds of personal hygiene, including perfuming of yourself. Then go early to the masjid. Make your way there calmly and unhurriedly. For indeed the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever goes to the masjid in the first hour, it's as if he offered a camel in sacrifice to Allah. Whoever goes in the second hour, it's as if he sacrificed a cow. Third hour, like a sheep. Fourth hour, like he sacrificed a chicken. Whoever goes in the fifth hour, it's as if he sacrificed an egg. And when the Imam emerges, the registers are folded closed and the pens are lifted and the angels gather at the pulpit to listen to the remembrance of Allah. It is said that people gain closeness to Allah on the day of judgment according to how early they come for the Friday prayer. Then when you have entered the masjid, seek out the first row. If the people have gathered, don't step over the shoulders of the people and pass in front of them. Sit close to a wall or a pillar so that no one passes in front of you. Do not sit down until you have performed the 2 rakahs of Tahiyatul Masjid. It is best to pray 4 rakahs, in each of which you recite Surah Al-Ikhlas 50 times after Surah Al-Fatiha. For in a tradition it has been stated, whoever does this will not die until he sees his place in heaven, or his place in heaven will be shown to him. This hadith is extremely weak, very weak. Do not omit the greeting prayer even if the Imam is delivering the Jummah khutbah. Even if the Imam is delivering the khutbah, you must make your Tahiyatul Masjid and then you sit down. It is from the sunnah to recite in the 4 rak'ahs Surah Al-An'am, Surah Al-Kahf, Taha and Yasin. If you cannot do this, then recite Surah Yasin, Alif Lam Mim Sajda, Hamim, Dukhan and Al-Mulk. Do not neglect the recitation of these surahs on the eve of Friday, for their recitation holds great merit. If you cannot do this, you should recite Surah Al-Ikhlas many times and send salawat upon the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, especially on Friday. As soon as the Imam emerges, cut your prayers and speech and occupy yourself with responding to the mu'adhin and then with listening to the khutbah and learning from it, during which you should leave off speaking completely. Don't talk to anyone. It has been mentioned, a person who, while the Imam is delivering the Jummah khutbah, says to his companion, be quiet or shh, has spoken needlessly. And whoever talks needlessly does not get the Friday prayer. And so don't even say be quiet. So even saying being quiet, be quiet is considered talking. What is proper then is to use a gesture, indicate to somebody, right? To silence another person during the sermon. After this, follow the Imam in the prayer as was detailed before. When you have finished and made the salutation, then before speaking, recite Surah Al-Fatiha 7 times, Surah Ikhlas 7 times, and the 2 chapters of protection 7 times each. The 2 quls, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. This protects you from one Friday to the next and would be a guard against shaitan. Say after that, اللهم يا غني يا حميد يا مبدئ يا معيد يا رحيم يا ودود أغنني بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وبفضلك عمن سواك. After the Friday prayer, pray 2, 4 or 6 rak'ahs. All of these have been related in different circumstances. He's talking about the sunnah after the Jumu'ah. And then make sure that you stay in the masjid until Maghrib, or at least until Asr, and search diligently for the honored moment, the time when dua is accepted, since it could be at any time in the day. For hopefully you will find it while you are in a state of humility before Allah, humbly entreating Him and making dua to Allah. Do not sit idle in the gatherings in the mosque, nor with the storytellers. وَلَا تَحْضُرْ فِي الْجَامِعِ وَلَا تُجَالِسْ الْقُصَّاصِ. Don't sit, people are sitting and talking and this and that, etc. Don't join all of that. بل مجلس العلم النافع. Rather, if there's a majlis of beneficial knowledge, then you sit there, the kind of which increases your fear of Allah the Most High and decreases your desires for this world. For indeed, ignorance is better for you than seeking knowledge that does not summon you from this world to the next. So seek refuge in Allah the Most High from knowledge that does not benefit. Again, he states, بل مجلس العلم النافع وهو الذي يزيدك في خوفك من الله. The beneficial knowledge increases your fear of Allah. وينقص من رغبتك في الدنيا, and it decreases your love of the dunya. فكل علم لا يدعوك من الدنيا إلى الآخرة any type of knowledge that doesn't take you from the dunya towards the hereafter, فَالْجَهَلْ أَعْوَدُ عَلَيْكَ مِنْ, then ignorance is better. Right? Because that knowledge is of no benefit whatsoever. فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ تَعَالَى مِنْ عِلْمٍ لَا يَنْفَعُ, seek Allah's protection from knowledge which does not benefit. Make increased supplication at the rising of the sun, and at the time when it moves from its zenith, and at the setting of the sun. At the call to commence the prayer, when the Imam ascends the pulpit, when the Imam goes up on the mimbar, and at the time when the people stand for the congregational prayer. For it might be that during these times, that's the time that the du'as are accepted on the Friday. Make a great effort on this day to donate in charity, whatever amount you are able to do so. Any amount that you're able to donate, however small, so as to combine the good act of prayer, you're praying, and some charity, and because Imam Ghazali said you should fast Saturday and Sunday, and your recitation of the Quran and your remembrance of Allah, and engaging in i'tikaf while you're in the masjid. So you join in between all of these different types of ibadat. Make this day of the week especially dedicated to your hereafter, so that hopefully it might be a penance, it might be a kafara for the rest of your week. Subhanallah. Shaykh. Then Imam Ghazali talks about the adab of siyam. Let us discuss the adab of siyam, inshallah, and then we would be complete with the first third of this book, bi'iznillahi ta'ala. Remember, we said that this book comes in 3 parts. First part is what we are discussing, and then the second part dealing with the sins. The etiquette of fasting. You should not confine yourself to only fasting in Ramadan, thereby neglecting the spiritual commerce of voluntary acts, as well as the acquisition of high degrees in upper levels of paradise. Why don't you want higher levels in paradise? Fast, and you will get that, inshallah. Allah grant us tawfiq. Allah grant us tawfiq. So that you will feel, regret on looking up, so that you would feel regret on looking up towards the ones who had fasted extra fast. You don't want to come Jannah there and then you look at the people above, mashallah, they fasted, why didn't I fast? Just as you look up towards the brilliant stars, as they would then be in the highest of the highest heavens. The meritorious days that I mentioned, the traditions, because of their special honor, of greatness of their reward, are fasting on the day of Arafat, 9th of Dhul Hijjah, fasting 10th of Muharram, Ashura, the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, the first 10 days of Muharram, Rajab, and Sha'ban. It's also meritorious to fast the sacred months, which are Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, and Rajab. For of these, 1 is alone, and 3 of them are consecutive, right? That is with regards to the year. With regards to each month, then it is good to fast the beginning, the middle, and the end of it. Also the ayyam al-bid, the white days of the month, when the moon is full, etc., which are the 13th, 14th, and the 15th of every lunar month. As for the week, then the days that you should fast are Monday and Thursday and Fridays. So expiate for the sins of the rest of the week by fasting these. Make up for the sins of the month by fasting the first of the month, and the middle of the month, and the last of the month, and the white days. And make up for the sins of the whole year by fasting those which were already mentioned. When you do fast, do not think that fasting is simply leaving off eating and drinking and having intercourse. For verily the Prophet ﷺ said, how many a person he fasts, but he doesn't get anything except hunger and thirst. A complete fast entails restraining every part of the body from what Allah the Most High dislikes. You must protect the eye from looking at that which is disliked, the tongue from uttering that which does not concern you, the ear from listening to what Allah the Magnificent and Majestic has forbidden. For verily the listener is a participant with the person who is speaking, and he counts as the one of the 2 backbiters. So that guy is backbiting, but you are listening, so you are counted as one of the backbiters. Because there's no backbiting without your being there, without your listening. You must restrain all of the limbs, just as you restrain the stomach and the private parts. For the narration tells us 5 things break the fast: lying, backbiting, tail-bearing, carrying tails, false oath, and looking with lust. And the Prophet ﷺ, in that hadith is most likely not authentic. Those matters don't break the fast. Yes, they nullify, they decrease your reward, etc. Yes, Prophet ﷺ said, verily fasting is a shield. And so if any one of you is fasting, you should not engage in obscene talk, nor behave foolishly. Then if a person is hostile towards him, or somebody is irritating you or insults you, you should say, I am fasting. Moreover, you must make every effort to break your fast with halal food, and not eat so much that you end up eating more than you normally eat every night. Allah musta'an, Jayyid. You shouldn't be breaking your fast in a manner that you are eating more than you would normally eat. There is no difference if you end up eating the same amount, whether you do that in one meal or two. Hey, Imam Ghazali, he knows us, subhanAllah. Jayyid, as we said, he wrote this towards the end of his life. He's one of those been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and now he's speaking. Jayyid, he says again that فَلَا فَرْقٍ, he says, وَلَا تَسْتَكْثِرْ فَتَزِيدُ عَلَى مَا تَأْكُلُهُ كُلَّ لَيْلَةٍ. Don't eat so much that now you're eating more than you normally eat. فَلَا فَرْقٍ إِذَا اسْتَوْفَيْتَ مَا تعتاده أن تأكله دفعة واحدة أو دفعتين وإنما المقصود كسر شهوتك. The maqsood, the aim and objective is to break your desires. وضعف قوتك, and to weaken its strength of your desires. لتقوى بها لتقوى بها على التقوى, so that you will eventually increase in your taqwa. If you eat in the evening as much as you missed eating during the late afternoon, then there is no benefit in your fasting and you have placed a burden on your stomach. There is no container which Allah the Most High dislikes more than a stomach filled with the law. Allah understand. He says that وَمَا مِنْ وِعَاءٍ أَبْغَضَ إِلَى اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ مِنْ بَطْنٍ مَلِئَ مِنْ حَلَالٍ. That there's no vessel which is full with halal that is disliked by Allah except the stomach. Now that you understand the meaning of fasting, fast as much as you can, for it is the foundation of acts of worship and the key to that which by which one will draw closer to Allah. Allah grant us tawfiq to fast like this. Jayyid. Allah understand. Allah understand. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الله تبارك وتعالى كل حسنة بعشر أمثالها إلى 700 ضعف إلا الصيام فإنه لي وأنا أجزي به. That the Prophet ﷺ says that Allah said every good deed is rewarded from 10 times to 700 times except fasting. For indeed it is for me and I will reward it. The reward is between that person and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also said that by him in whose hand is my soul, the smell of the breath of a fasting person is more pleasant to Allah than the scent of musk. Allah the Blessed and Exalted says, truly he has given up his desire, his food, his drink only for my sake. Fasting is for me and I will reward him for it. Still further, the Prophet ﷺ said, paradise has a door called Rayyan, and through which none except those who fast, and once they have entered, this door will be closed. This, then he says, فَهَذَا الْقَدْرُ مِنْ شَرْحِ الطَّاعَاتِ يَكْفِيكَ فِي بِدَايَةِ الْهِدَايَةِ. He says that this amount, what I've already discussed about wudu and ghusl and tayammum and salah and fajr and your working and you're being in the khidmah of the people and jumu'ah salah and fasting, what I've discussed, these matters here, this much explanation of the outward aspects of obedience to Allah should suffice you as you are at the beginning of guidance. For the beginning of guidance, this is enough. If you need to know about Zakah and pilgrimage, why is he not discussing Zakah and Hajj? Because not everybody has to pay Zakah. Some people are poor. Not everybody has to go for Hajj. They don't have the money. So he's not discussing those matters. Or more about the prayer and fasting, then seek it in what we have set out in Ihya Ulum. Then you can refer to his book Ihya Ulum because he discusses those matters there. Tajiduhu insha'Allah ta'ala. You will find it there bi'iznillahi ta'ala. Hayyakumullah. So this is the first 1/3 of the book covered now, alhamdulillah, that dealt with the matters of ta'at, the matters of obedience. Insha'Allah, in our next majlis, we will begin with ijtinab al-ma'asi, staying away from the sins. And then he talks about the sins committed with the limbs. He then moves onto the sins committed with the eyes, with the ears, with the tongue, sins of lying, breaking a promise, backbiting. He discusses argumentation and competitiveness with people and debating with people, ascribing goodness only to oneself, cursing people, making dua against people, ridiculing people and making fun of people. He discusses the sins of the stomach, the sins of the privates, the sins of the feet, sins of the hands, sins of the other limbs of the body. So this is the sins of the heart. Allah musta'an. The sins of the heart, ostentation, riya, showing off, arrogance, pride, conceit. Those are the sins that Imam Ghazali will be discussing in this Bidayatul Hidayah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us khair and barakah. We will end off our majlis here, inshallah. As I've mentioned previously, I advise you, Ya Abdullah, Ya Amat Allah, to go through that video we put together some weeks back on the life of Imam Ghazali. Because only if you understand the life of Imam Ghazali, then you will appreciate the works of Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah. And as we had mentioned, that during this period, there were two great giants, Imam Ghazali and Imam Abdul Qadir Jilani. Imam Abdul Qadir Jilani entered Baghdad when Ghazali was leaving. When Ghazali had gone through his second crisis in his life and he's leaving Baghdad, that's when Imam Abdul Qadir Jilani had come to settle at the age of 18, came to seek knowledge in Baghdad. And Iznillahi ta'ala, maybe we can cover some works of that Imam too, inshallah. Hayyakum Allah. Until we meet again, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to record our sitting here in our scales of good deeds. يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالُ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Don't forget what Imam Ghazali said about fasting and breaking fast and eating so much. Don't forget about what he said about the one who naps during the day and doesn't wake up at night for prayer. The one who does that is similar to the one who wakes up for suhoor and then he does not fast. Allah musta'an. Don't forget what he said about seeking knowledge which is not beneficial, that if it's not beneficial, then ignorance of it was better for you. Allah musta'an. Allah musta'an. We ask Allah that whatever we learn and read, etc., it's a proof for us and not a proof against us. Allah musta'an. Until we meet again, ya mashayikh, jazakumullah khairan, barakallahu feekum. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.